probably the first.
Hold on a second. Are your hands supposed to be in front of your face, though? I mean, you can't do a podcast like this.
I'm
you just gotta at least keep your hands down.
I'll keep my hands.
Hands
But if my hands are below the table, like people are, where is his hands? You know,
Yeah.
I'll go like this.
Well,
So here we are, the first Beck Bode video podcast. I'm Ben Beck. We're here at the Beck House, the Beck family office, with my co-founder and chief, I don't know, everything?
Yeah, do it all.
Jim Bode, he does it all. And also with Matt Maurizio, who joined the firm how long ago? About 2 years ago now?
Yeah, more than that.
More than that? More than that. Okay. My memory's not that good. You know, we're going to go through maybe a few introductions. But first and foremost, this is our first video podcast. What do we want viewers to do? We want them to like us, right, on social media, which is what? You know more about social media than I do. So why don't you take us through what they need to do?
Well, just subscribe to this podcast. If you like it, review us, 5 stars, or some nice words.
Comment,
it'll bump us up in the ratings on iTunes. If you don't like it, obviously don't. But yeah, like it, subscribe to it, share it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
I like that.
What are we covering in our first podcast?
Well, why the name? Why no bonds? But let's introduce ourselves first.
Yeah, let's not jump the gun. Let's introduce ourselves first. So, my name is Ben Beck. Again, I'm the co-founder and chief investment officer of Beck Bode.
Jim feels like
he's left out here.
We already introduced ourselves. Jim feels like.
I thought we did that.
Well, we kind of did, but I wanted to give a little bit more insight into maybe our personal lives. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're at my house.
Yeah.
Right?
Tell us.
Tell us what you have going on, Ben.
So, a lot going on. How many kids collectively do we have at the table? First of all, we
5,
have
9,
5, 4,
3,
and 3. So we're all finance guys. So should we be able to figure that out?
It's easy
5,
math.
4, and 3 is 12.
Yep.
12 children among us.
Yeah, but here's what's better: is what are the age spans? What's the oldest?
Oldest is 7 in my house. How about you? So you probably have the oldest.
12.
Okay, so 12 down to
What's
youngest.
the
For me, is
Nolan?
1.5. Nolan's the youngest.
7, 6, 5, and Nolan is 8 months old.
So
We should have him as a guest in the podcast.
8 months to
at some
12?
point.
That's a good idea.
That'd be fun.
8 months to 12.
And there's 12 kids.
I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Right.
it really is.
Okay.
Yeah. So, well, how about Matt? You start us off with a little bio. What's your deal?
So, many moons ago, I was just like every other boy chasing a dream. I played minor league baseball. So that's where I started. And I got to play 4 years as a catcher, 1 as a pitcher. Would have been a water boy, I suppose, if they offered me that spot next. But that ended. So eventually that career ended after 5 seasons. I played with the Royals in their farm system. So that's how I started. From there, life went right away. I was recently married at the time. I finished my degree, had my first kid a few months later, found myself in a position of a child, no work, and the sole provider with a bad resume. So
No pressure.
yeah, no issues. I'll figure that out. So I went to a staffing firm thinking they would get me a job like they do, and I ended up then hiring me. Did well there for 4.5 years, and then in all of the meetings I was having, met Ben first, and then Jim. And then after learning about how we did things here at Beck Bode, sold. So that's how I got started a few years ago, 2.5 years ago.
And I suppose we'll learn more about those things as we talk about certain topics that we'll dig into. And
yeah, I mean, I guess on the personal side, I mean, I got a lot going on. 5 kids, all 7 and under. Live in an 1800s home that we completely gutted and fixed. Have chickens and goats.
literally
in my house.
A farm.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of layers to this onion. But that's enough for now.
What about fitness? What about health?
That was my, because my health and my performance directly related to my career, my impact on the field. Like that became a passion of mine, and it hasn't gone away. I mean, it's just a lifestyle at this point. Without that, like without prioritizing that in my life, I'm not as successful in any other parts. Personally, professionally, anything. So, I mean, it's just, at this point, it's just who I am. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I think that's also kind of why I was drawn to you guys. So, with the health, let me segue into your health and fitness life.
Ooh, boy. So yeah, a lot of similarities, right? We've got a lot of kids.
No farm though.
No farm. There's no livestock running around.
Yeah, I'm working on it. Wow. I don't know how the neighbors would feel.
Yeah, right. But similar backgrounds, right? We all went to Northeastern University in Boston.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Jim and I went to school together. Graduated in 2002. We missed Matt by 1 year, right? You came in the next year.
Literally 1 year.
I also played baseball, but certainly not to the extent that Matt played in the professions, the minor league baseball.
I watched a lot more than I did.
I was a spectator. I was also a spectator.
I had one of the best seats in the house, basically, for a lot of games.
Yeah. When I connected with the ball, I did well, but I didn't often connect with the ball, so that was the problem. I went to Northeast University where I met Jim freshman year. Both came in to play football, but as you like to tell everybody, I was too scared to actually join the team, so I ended up just playing baseball. Accurate?
Tough sport.
Yeah, tough sport. Right. Tough sport. But I, a little bit of different route, played a little professional baseball in the independent leagues for a few years after college, and then got the opportunity to get into finance right away. And it's been an exciting ride since when I first had my first experience in 2004, late 2004. And then flash forward to 07, 08, I hadn't seen this guy since college, and ran into each other at my building, I think, in downtown Boston, and something along the lines of him walking by. I'm like, I know that dude from somewhere. So I tracked him down, and we started talking, and long story short, he was already in finance, and we got together and formed a group at Merrill Lynch, where we were at the time. And grew our business, skipping over a lot of great stuff, which we'll get into throughout the podcast, but grew our business into what it is today, which is a successful investment advisory firm with, as of today, 21 folks under our umbrella. On the personal side, like Matt and like Jim, health and fitness is a huge part of everything. Family's a huge part of everything. I've got 4 kids, ranging 7 all the way down to, I guess 8 months. It's not really a newborn anymore, really, right?
Still feels like it.
Still feels like it.
Sure.
The sleep still feels like it. But when it comes to the things we like to do, it's finance, it's health and fitness, and just surrounding ourselves with great people, which is a great segue into my friend and co-founder, Jim Bode.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, you're welcome, Jim.
You're welcome, Jim.
No, I mean, that's obviously you've heard the story of how we kind of got started, but I obviously Northeastern as well. I had the chance to play college football.
But not from here.
But not from here, originally from Ohio. Spent a year of high school in Waltham. We're actually the same high school Matt graduated from. And then finished up my last 2 years of high school.
Waltham Hawks.
Last 2 years of high school in Needham, and ended up at Northeastern, where obviously we met into Ben, but he decided and chose to play baseball while I continued with football. Played 5 years of college football, and then actually started right off into finance, where I was working on the institutional side, working for some of the largest mutual fund companies here in the States. Always had a desire to get onto the personal investing side, and so that chance that I ran into Ben in the hallway. It was really when it really began for me that I would start picking his brain about making the transition from institutional side into the personal wealth management. And I actually, before Ben really got into fitness, for me to pick his brain, I had to intrigue him with mozzarella sticks. That's and right. Ice cream at Brigham's.
When there was a Brigham's, which is no longer there.
So So don't let Ben fool you. That fitness wasn't always the first priority. that whole fitness priority didn't really change until a few years later.
Actually, good friend Josh Plosker
got us started into
called us one day. We were talking about it yesterday, actually. He called us one day when we were at Merrill Lynch together, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, I just opened up this gym in Back Bay. It's CrossFit. You got to come try it out. And both of us, I think, were like, what's CrossFit? Yeah. And literally we went down, I think, the next day. And from that point forward, we were like a lot of CrossFitters. This was 2012, I remember, because they had just opened. And from that point forward, it was life-changing.
It was on.
So a lot less mozzarella sticks.
Yes.
More fitness.
But those mozzarella sticks got us started in those conversations because in college I was an offensive lineman. I was running around at 310 pounds, so I ate a lot of mozzarella sticks. So I needed fitness in my life, and that was really when it began that I was still challenged enough with CrossFit, and the competition was still there. So that's where our health for me really began as far as what we were going to start doing with our lives on the health side. I think it was probably a year after we ran into each other. I joined Merrill Lynch and we started officially working as the Beck Bode group. On a personal level, I have 3 kids. I have the least amount of kids, but also the oldest kids ranging from 12, 9, and now 5. We're an active family. I coach a lot of youth sports in town. I play a lot of golf. Not a great golfer, but we play a lot of golf. And just excited to see what's next in our lives from a both personal and professional level.
Excellent.
So it's a No Bonds podcast. Why would we name this podcast No Bonds?
Yeah, I was going to say, this is interesting because when I first got started in the industry, back in 2002, 2003, that's what we talked about. That's what they trained us on. That's what they taught us, is that every portfolio needs to have a certain allocation towards bonds and to growth. And when I first met Ben back in, well, not first met him, but when we first started working together in 2005, I was actually a client of his beforehand. And he came to me, a guy that's been in the industry since 2002, 2003, and says, I'm going to build you out your personal portfolio, and you are going to own no bonds. And my first reaction was, what are you talking about? Because that's not at all what you were trained to do at Merrill Lynch, or what I was trained to do back in the day. So tell me more. And that's when I really was introduced to this whole concept of no bonds.
Yeah. And by the way, I mean, obviously, one of the reasons we're putting this and future podcasts together, right, is first and foremost to be cognizant and understanding that there is so much noise out there in the financial industry, right? And knowing that, hey, we're talking, about bonds right now, and some folks, rightly so, don't even know what a bond is, or we use terms like fixed income, and like in any other industry, and definitely in finance, it's oftentimes that financial professionals are talking over the heads of clients, right? And so, a big objective, a big goal of this podcast, a good example of that obviously is, what Jim's mentioning with respect to no bonds, which for those that aren't, familiar with bonds and fixed income, it's something that's just very traditional and common in the financial world with respect to how people invest. And we think it's the absolute wrong investment to be in, to the extent that we feel as an individual, you should have no exposure to bonds at all. And by the way, just to put things in perspective or in context, if we compare this to like health, it's like when you think of the food pyramid or the chart that we grew up on, right? What were the food groups that were the most recommended to eat, like breads and cereals, right? Whole grains, carbs. And what was a characteristic of food that you should stay away from? Fats. Yeah. And now what is really the world coming to understand today is basically the exact opposite.
Right, fats are good.
Fat's good, sugar bad.
Sugar bad.
Ice cream, not as bad for you as fat-free frozen yogurt, which is loaded with sugar. So anyway, just to put things in context, and of course, for probably all of our podcasts, given that we're athletes and finance guys and girls, we have a number of women at the firm too. that we're going to talk a lot about investing, obviously, but also fitness and health and so on.
Yeah.
So be ready for some fitness and health analogies galore. Yeah. So the No Bonds podcast is our way of helping explain, articulate a lot of the things that we see in the industry that folks have questions on, that I think that we need to shed a little light on, and to help folks understand that maybe what we've learned or what we've heard in the industry for year upon year might not be the right way to proceed, with your own investments and how you approach financial planning. What am I missing? So where can people find us? On probably the best place is our Instagram profile. So that's at Beck Bode on Instagram. You can also email us directly at invest at Beck Bode, or actually social at Beck Bode is probably the best place to email us questions. My
Instagram handle is just my name, at Matt Maurizio, MattMorizio.
At bbeck33 is my Instagram handle.
And mine is at Beck Bode.
also known as
at
Gramless.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
We'll get there.